7, aka Diz, and this is the Force always.
Okay, so welcome to the show. Let's get on with the Star Wars news. Finally, we get a date for the Mandalorian Season 2 coming to Disney Plus October 30. That's right, it's going to be on Fridays for us here in Australia. You guys, you'll probably get it, I think the same time, but in a different time slot. We usually get it about 7 p.m.-ish on the Friday night. So October 30, Mandalorian Season 2 is coming. And that means, which is connected to the title of this video, the trailer for this particular season should be dropping in the next 2 weeks. Exactly when, I'm unsure, but watch out for a trailer coming very soon for Season 2, The Mandalorian. Anyways, to more news, Hasbro is going to do a virtual con for Star Wars. It's going to be happening in September. A lot of figures that I saw were sort of Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back. Very good. Look, the two ones I picked out, because of the detail, the snow monster in Empire Strikes Back, I mean, look at the dirt detail in this one. It's fantastic. And this other one, I didn't understand the whole packaging, but it does look mysterious and it does look good. But I'm thinking it's an Ewok inside this box and of some sort. But Hasbro will be having a virtual con in September, I think late September, so hold on to your hats for that one. To more news, Rey has been finally revealed the lightsaber that she wielded at the end of Rise of Skywalker. You know, the history, what is it, what's it made of, things like that. Well, it is a part of the staff that she was holding all the way from Force Awakens, which is episode 7. So it is connected to that staff. She's just recreated it into a lightsaber. But interesting fun fact here, that the only other yellow lightsabers to exist were the guards for the Jedi Temple, and I think you can. I think it's available to see in either Revenge of the Sith or maybe the Clone Wars animated series. But what the significance to the yellow lightsaber is, unsure. You know, yellow being the color of happiness, that could be something to do with it. I don't know, but we will find out in the years or maybe decades to come. But so her lightsaber has come from her staff. That was sort of initially thought by a lot of people that could be a lightsaber in there. That staff all the way in Force Awakens times episode 7. That's about 2015, I think it was. So yeah, it's been finally revealed. Anyway, to more news, Yoda, a young version Yoda in a painted look, has been revealed. There is a whole lot of books coming out in 2021, the High Republic, and this is what Yoda looks like. I think it looks, I'll be honest, I think it looks a little bit ugly, but it definitely looks like a younger version. It looks a little bit angry, I think. The only thing I will say is I'm wishing that they have based this face on a younger version of Ralph McQuarrie, who was the designer to Yoda way back in the day, because he based his face in the Yoda face. So this really needs to look like Ralph McQuarrie. I don't have younger shots of Ralph McQuarrie, but I'm wishing they sort of stuck to what it's meant to look like rather than creating their own version of it. It looks I'm okay with it, but it does look a bit mean, and it looks not so. It looks a bit like a man, to be honest. But anyway, but it's okay. Anyway, so that's the Star Wars news for this time around. Let's get into the views. Views this time around is actually about the story idea of Finn. Now, in the news this week, Finn, or the actual actor who played Finn, John Boyega, has sort of come out and sort of said his piece about how his character was front and center, well, almost front and center, and brushed aside from the start to the end of the sequel trilogy, or the Disney trilogy, or whatever you want to call it. And he feels that his race was a contributing factor to this. Now, personally, I sort of get the whole idea that the character did diminish a little. It had a strange sort of feel to it in The Rise of Skywalker, when they were sort of hinting to the idea of him being a Jedi or having Jedi powers, but it never eventuated. I thought that was... I didn't get why they sort of didn't let that fruition, have it sort of, go through. In my sort of story idea, as this views is what it's all about, my story ideas, I would have created Finn a bit more stronger and heroic than sort of a bit, clumsy with love, I think. His strength. I think the whole idea coming from a stormtrooper background should have had him be very strong in, rectifying what the Empire did or the First Order did in, stealing all those people. This is a story of Star Wars that is, this is not real life. But and sort of correcting all the wrongs that they did, and sort of him becoming a hero. I would have loved to see him as a Jedi. The only thing I'll say about John Boyega's comments is this: if there's anyone I would get a fan photo with from the sequel trilogy, he would be probably the only one. Maybe others, but he would definitely be my number one pick. So I love John Boyega. I think he's being black, or him being who he is, a little bit sort of, out there as a person, is fine. But I just think the only thing I just disagree is that his comments is coming way after the end of Star Wars, and I think I find that a little bit disheartening for the actual hardcore Star Wars fans, when... if he did have a problem, it should have been at that time. I do understand that, you've got to sort of carry out your contract obligations and stuff like that, but it's a bit disheartening for a fan to sort of get this information after the fact. But I do think there is an issue in Hollywood, and I'd say the whole world, to be honest, and in the treatment of certain cultures or people in whatever manner in the world. I think there's a very misunderstanding, and I applaud him for standing up, but I think it's come a bit late. That's all I'll say. But personally, my story idea, which again, this is the segment about story ideas, is I would have created his character to be a bit stronger and a bit more heroic, sort of extending higher from The Force Awakens into The Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker being stronger and heroic than he was. He was a little bit heroic in Rise of Skywalker, but not massively. Just a little bit, I thought. He could have a bit more excelled, I think, in the story idea. It's not his fault, it's just the story. But the other part, again, as Star Wars fans, we've got to sort of let go to the idea of what you want as a story and accept the story as it is. That's how I sort of take it. I accept the story that Disney said, it's not perfect. The same with the original trilogy, it's not perfect. The same with the prequels. But I think that, there's just no perfection. Don't worry about what you like as a story. Accept it for what it is. There could be a whole lot of wrongs and rights, but just take it for what it is. But I applaud John Boyega for taking a stand, but at the same time, a bit disheartened that it's a little bit late after the whole Star Wars sort of thing. Personally, if I was a character in Star Wars and then brushed to a side, I'd probably love it just to be in Star Wars. Anyway, that's me. So that's my views for this time around. So it's a little bit unusual, again, the story idea, but That's the story idea, having Finn, the character, be stronger and heroic than he was in the trilogy that we know. Anyway, let's get into reviews. Reviews this week is about a game. It's Star Wars Republic Commando. Now, first thoughts on this was it's going to be a really great idea. I thought, look, I'm not a gamer. This is coming from a non-gamer, and I thought it was just average. It was okay. I didn't find this overwhelming. I would enjoy games more if I had a whole lot of time, but I just thought this game looked okay. It moved okay. The idea was okay. Look, I'm going to give this maybe a 6.5 out of 10. I'm not really overly excited for this. Even though I'm a non-gamer, it's okay. That's it. 6.5 out of 10. That's my review for this time around. Let's get now into interviews. That's 2 questions I asked myself for you guys out there. The first question and the second question will be about Disney's trilogy and sort of connecting to my views with John Boyega. Disney has now released the trilogy. It's now all cemented in stone. It's done. Do I accept the story for what it is? As I said early on, I do. So that's as simple as that. I accept the story for what it is, knowing that I could create probably difference to the story, or maybe better, or possibly worse. But I accept the story for what it is. That's how it is. I think it is Star Wars. It has all the elements of Star Wars. It just was Disney's interpretation. Whether they did this on the go or they had a plan, whatever really it is, as we all sort of know, it was not planned. It didn't work for them that great, but the story still stands as a Star Wars story. It is Star Wars. It is excitingly Star Wars, but with points that we'd all want to change if we can. But the story, I do accept the story for what it is. My second question is, will the fans in time disregard the trilogy? Now, I can't speak of all fans. In my opinion, to the answer to this question, this is only an opinionated question. I think in time, like 20 years, I think there will be an appreciation for the Star Wars we've got now in about 20 years. Just as the Phantom Menace and even the prequels have been appreciated 20 years after it was released. And I know that because when I was at Chicago Star Wars Celebration, you felt, you saw it, it was around, people just, dug that, and there's a lot more likers than dislikers for the prequels. But I think the trilogy now, for the time being, it will be disrespected, it will be, churned through in a bad way. I think there will be people that like it and people that will stay divided or be divided or become divided. It will definitely be something that will be historical in its change of direction, especially without George Lucas there. But I think in about 20 years' time, we're all going to sort of look back at this and just go, what the hell's going on, Personally, I've always looked upon every Star Wars episode as exciting in its lead-up and during and even after. There's a lot of these stories I don't get time to actually rewatch, but I still enjoy Star Wars for the excitement as it is, without being forced at all. It's just an exciting. The only Star Wars that I don't get overly excited for is maybe the Clone Wars, even though I like the Clone Wars, the animated series. And the only Star Wars thing to this day that I can't stand is, because it's such a depressing sort of thing, was the actual holiday special back in 1977 or 78, whenever it was. I just remember it was just depressing. I can actually, in the background, remember as a kid, my mum was doing the vacuuming or the washing, and we're watching this on TV, and it was like, it was really, gut-wrenchingly sickly, like, oh God, it was sort of it looked like Star Wars, but it just did not feel like Star Wars in its whatever they were trying to do. Anyway, so that's the answer to the question. I think in about 20 years' time, it will be appreciated. This sequel, Disney trilogy, whatever you want to look at it as, for now, it will be, up and down with many types of people within the one person. Even myself, like I've got things that are up and down. I do like The Rise of Skywalker. I thought The Last Jedi had some points of issue to it, but I still enjoyed it, especially its originality. But let's just wait 20 years' time and go to that Star Wars celebration and sort of see and feel the difference then and accept it. Let's just hope from now to then that the actors who are in this trilogy don't get tormented as many Star Wars actors have been and really been pushed to the edge. That's a very sad outcome to all this, if it would happen. Anyway, that's the answer to the question. That's the show this week. You can follow me on Twitter with my details down there, or you can check me out on Instagram. Again, my details are down there. Message me through YouTube if you like. This is a weekly show where I bring you the Star Wars news, views, reviews, interviews of all different types. And until next time, keep rocking.